but what is underneath and driving why humans are behaving in ways that generate those problems and that don't solve them. And so, you use the term civilization design, which is, if we look at, say, species extinction, whether we're talking about the decrease in whale populations or cutting down of old growth forests or whatever, and whether we killed the thing for the direct commoditization of it or we killed the habitat land, it was because nature was worth more dead than alive. So we had a perverse incentive situation. We can see a lot of situations where war is great for GDP, and not war would be bad for GDP, where sick people are better for GDP, where addiction is better for GDP, and GDP as a whole in aggregate or particular groups. And so we start to look at, underneath lots of problems in the world is perverse incentive, economic, but also political, et cetera. So issues associated with differential power and the ability for some agent to get ahead at the expense of other agents or the commons. And then everybody playing those types of games, up ratcheting their capacity to get ahead at the cost of more expense being externalized.
And you're not just talking about short-term versus long-term GDP. You're talking about this fundamental misalignment at times between what's best for long-term GDP and what's best for long-term, civilization.
Well, interestingly, what is best for long-term consideration and what's best for others oftentimes correspond. Because I might have a situation where what seems like the rational best choice for me in the short term that ends up damaging the commons or others also damages my possibility space in the long term, because now I live on a ecologically devastated planet. Or now I've engendered more enmity from the other groups that I won the battle but have not won the war. And I deployed the asymmetric technology. Now they reverse engineered and are going to deploy it back. So we have these situations where every agent doing the thing that seems like the rational best choice in the short term, just focusing on them, creates the worst possibility space for the whole over the long term. So this is an example of the coordination failures that are underneath most of the problems in the world. I don't want to cut all of the trees down, and I don't need to, but if I don't, the other guy's going to. So me not doing it doesn't leave a forest. And then he's going to use his increased economic power to beat me in some other important way. So now we actually race to cut it down as fast as possible. Or so we see tragedy of the commons type scenarios, or we have to race to build the AI weapons before the other guy. So arms races, tragedy of the commons are examples of multipolar traps where no one is maliciously doing the bad thing, and yet everyone's racing to do the destructive thing.